She was the most politically compliant person they could find. I don't know what she knew, but I know the story she told was misleading.
The debate on the Hill only intensified by General David Petraeus' testimony on Friday that suspected terrorism from the very beginning.
Why do you tell the American public something that is different in meaning? It should be perhaps leave out details, leave out sources and
again, though, I mean, the details here were Al-Qaeda.
But before you get to the question of what Susan Rice should or shouldn't have said, I think we need to know the answer of who changed the talking points and why.
Okay, so let's get to the bottom of this and say good morning to our Monday morning political power panel. We have Susan Page, USA Today's Washington bureau chief, MSNBC analyst Karen Finney, also a columnist for The Hill, and Republican strategist Hogan Gidley, former national communications director for Rick Santorum's presidential campaign. Gang, it's great to have you here. Susan, I want to kick it off with you and go back over the timeline of what we know from September 11th. The attack on the diplomatic compound happening on Tuesday, September the 11th, then by the 14th, which was a Friday, certain lawmakers on the Hill say that General Petraeus told them he believed there was terrorist involvement in this. And then that Sunday, it was September the 16th, that's when Ambassador Rice went on 5 different morning shows and says it was the result of a spontaneous protest. So, Susan, by the 16th, was the terrorist attack language usable as unclassified or not?
Well, that is a question, Thomas, I can't answer, but it is a question we will have an answer to, because it's clear that Republicans are not going to let this go, especially if Susan Rice is nominated to be Secretary of State. I think there are questions here that the administration is going to be forced to answer in a more detailed way than they have. And, you know, by the way, it stings me that this is a little bit of a side issue to what ought to be the central issue about the Benghazi attack, which is why wasn't there better security at that consulate to have repelled this attack. I mean, it's curious to me that there is so much interest on the timeline and when this more substantive issue seems to be being left behind.
Karen, Maureen Dowd talked about the president's defense of Ambassador Rice, and we all saw his defense of her in his press briefing, but saying, quote, some have wondered if Rice, who has a bull and a China shop reputation, is diplomatic enough for the top diplomatic job, but she would have been wise to be a more bull in a China shop and vet her talking points. So did Ambassador Rice have no other choice than to use the unclassified talking points given to her, especially if she were privy to more detailed information? I mean, isn't it her job to go out with, okay, what is releasable?
Well, absolutely. And you know, Thomas, one correction to at least my understanding of the series of events is that, remember, on that Sunday, I mean, she did caveat every single appearance by saying, this is what we know now. And the change in the talking point seems to have been from a direct link to Al-Qaeda or terrorism to extremists. And, you know, we have also learned in the course of this investigation that there was a covert CIA operation operating on those grounds. Perhaps part of the reason they pulled back some of the information was to protect that operation, or trying to protect certain assets that may have still been on the ground, or to protect the names of Libyans who are working with us, which was subsequently released under the ignorance of Jason Chaffetz and Congressman Issa. So I think, you know, there are legitimate national security questions. I think Susan's exactly right. The talking points is really the side issue. The real question is security, but also, do we have the adequate assets that we need in Libya? We have not been in Libya in a very long time. Why didn't we know more about the fact that this kind of thing would be coming? Is it because we just simply haven't been there and we need more intelligence assets?
Certainly a lot more questions to this than answers than we have so far.